pegang aja ini.
Selamat siang Bapak dan Ibu. Good afternoon ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the kick-off of Collaborative Development of Indonesia Sustainable Investment Guideline atau workshop kick-off kolaborasi penyusunan Sustainable Investment Guideline yang diselenggarakan oleh Kementerian Investasi bekerja sama dengan Smesco Indonesia, Kadin Indonesia, dan Koalisi Ekonomi Membumi. Kepada Bapak dan Ibu yang masih ada di luar ruangan, dipersilakan bisa masuk untuk segera memulai acara pada siang hari ini. Welcome to today's session, which is the first session kicking off multi-stakeholders collaboration in getting Indonesia ready for the next step towards sustainable investment. My name is Gita Syahrani from Ekonomi Membumi Collective, and we would like to welcome all of you, both attending offline as well as the 100+ attending online in Zoom as well as in YouTube. Hopefully we will have a wonderful and productive session today. To open the session, we would like to welcome Mr. Riyatno from Ministry of Investment to open delivering the keynote speech. The time and floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished guests, Secretary, Director General, Sustainable Forest Management, Executive Director, Smesco Indonesia, Bapak Leonard, Vice Chairman on Environment and Forestry, Kadin Indonesia, Pak Onte, Ibu Risa Evanita, Director Finance and Human Resources, IDX. Representative from Apindo, Ibu Lisya Esra. Kawan-kawan perwakilan Koalisi Ekonomi Membumi. Maaf saya tidak bisa dalam bahasa Inggris. Ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to join this strategic event. This year, Indonesia has been appointed as the presidency. G20 carries the big theme, recover together, recover stronger. We hope that presidency will guide the world to recover together out from pandemic era and can make concrete impact to recover stronger on the world economy. To achieve this, we should put aside differences and strengthening common value or goals. Our presidency, based on pillar, namely increase stability and resilience, increase productivity, ensure sustainable and inclusive growth, create a conducive environment and strengthening global collective leadership. And Indonesia has also 3 priority issues, that is global health architecture, digital transformation, and sustainable energy transition. Ministry of Environment is committed to support the implementation of the pillar of G20 by initiating the kick-off collaborating for sustainable investment guidance. This event will involve local entrepreneurs and SMEs to collaborate in order to contribute at the G20 presidency of Indonesia. We expect that interactive dialogue from all stockholders to share the best practices and again, new idea on how to utilize resources in Indonesia in a sustainable way. This event will become a real action to develop the document Sustainable Investment Guidance, which can be used for all Indonesia businesses and SMEs, as well as potential green investment partner. It begins with the involvement of partners from NGO, private partner, and stakeholders which engage in the field of green investment, sustainability, and climate change. This morning, we launched list of Indonesia Sustainable Investment Project. The list contains of ready-to-offer projects from across Indonesia in sustainable sectors such as tourism, special economic zone, manufacturing industry, and infrastructure. All the projects worth more than 150 trillion rupiahs. We will continue and actively to promote the implementation of sustainable investment in Indonesia. Ministry of Investment invite all stakeholders to join and contribute on G20 presidency Indonesia, especially trade, investment, and industry working group that will be held in Solo, Jakarta, and Labuan Bajo. Distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, this event and the following outcome will not succeed without our collaboration and togetherness. Once again, I would like to thank the contribution and commitment of all stakeholders. Thank you, and I wish you all a productive session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dr. Yatno, HS LLM, is the Deputy for Investment Cooperation of the Ministry of Investment. And as he mentioned, the Ministry of Investment is also committed to ensure that the guidelines will be developed involving relevant stakeholders through a co-creation process. So now we would like to invite the partner from Ministry of Investment, the Executive Director of SMESCO Indonesia, Bapak Leonard Teosabrata, to deliver a keynote speech. The time and floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and salam sehat buat semua, salam sejahtera. I'm going to deliver this in English. So thank you so much for inviting us and involving us, SMESCO Indonesia, part of the Ministry of Co-op and SMEs. We are very much responsible and very much glad that we are involved in this program. And I think between the bodies that has been discussing about this matter for many months or even years, I'm very happy that we are here today. And we are gearing up towards G20, which is very important and very much determining the future of Indonesian economy, in my opinion. And as SMESCO, we are preparing for this, we've been preparing for this since a year and a half ago to prepare ourselves in order for us to be able to welcome and also to have the delegation oversee and also giving them a chance to view some of the opportunities that we have been putting together with all the partners that now has a name, Koalisi Ekonomi Membumi. And I'm very happy that it has a name now and it's actually a working group. And I believe this is a very powerful working group that we can propose to G20 and also becoming a narrative, a very strong narrative from Indonesia that we can offer to the world. Because after this, the presidency will be followed by, if I'm not mistaken, will be followed by Brazil and India. A similar sort of geographic and also landscape that if we do offer this Koalisi Ekonomi Membumi and the narrative, I think we have something that can be sustainable within the next 15 years. So it is very important that we really work hard on this, and I'm glad that Kementerian Investasi and BKPM, together with everybody else and the coalition, is working towards the ESG investment readiness in terms of portfolio and regulation. And I believe that we will be successful in terms of delivering those parameters, the parametrics, and also the giving a chance for Indonesian SMEs to be able to compete and also to showcase the potentials that we have. Especially, and I want to note this, as MESCO, we will have an investment hub. And I think this is something that we are very glad to be working with Kementerian Investasi as well, because MESCO Hub Timur is designed to be an investment hub. And we will also try to deliver a dashboard, a monitoring and also evaluation dashboard that will showcase and be similar and also strengthen between us and also Kementerian Investasi and also Kadin in terms of the working group, the trade working group. And it will eventually be connected to B20 Connect. And I hope that this is something that we will be also part of and strengthening. And hopefully in July this year, we will open doors. It will be at ITDC, Nusa Dua. It's a strategic location right across of Grand Hyatt in Nusa Dua. And I think this is a home that we all can use, and we all can, I welcome everybody to take advantage of this location and also this facility that we are trying to build. I think that's it from me. And again, thank you so much to all the partners and especially to Kementerian Investasi for having us and having me here in this wonderful session this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Leo. Highlighting what Pak Leo mentioned, the Ekonomi Membumi Collective is a multi-stakeholders collaboration that can withstand the length of time. The hope is that within the next 5 years, the coalition can bring together at least 100 portfolios of environmental and socially friendly businesses with potential investors as well as buyers. With all of the speeches done, I'm going to move to the center of the stage. Today is a bit of a double job, both MC as well as moderator. So let me reintroduce myself also. My name is Gita Syahrani, the head of the Secretariat for Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari and also part of the Ekonomi Membumi Collective. Today we will have a very inspiring discussion session featuring several of my personal idol as well. We would like to welcome to the stage Bapak Staf Ahli from Ministry of Investment, Bapak Indra Darmawan to the stage. We would also like to welcome representative from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Direktorat Jenderal Pengelolaan Hutan Lestari, Bapak Misran to the stage. Silakan Pak. Bringing the flavor from the private sector side, I would like to welcome my boss, the Vice Chairman of Environment and Forestry Permanent Committee to the Indonesia Chamber of Commerce, Bapak Silverius Oscar Unggul or Bang Onte. And last but not least, I would like to welcome the Impact Investment Lead from Angin, Ibu Atika Benedikta. Okay, everybody ready? Semua sudah siap, Bapak Misran aman ya Pak? So first, we would like to say hello to the 139 participants in Zoom that is joining us. They've counted around 8 countries are joining us, and some is also tuning in the Ministry of Investment Zoom. So before we start the discussion, we would like to actually ask each of the panelists. Jadi kita akan mulai dengan 2 bahasa, bahasa Inggris dan bahasa Indonesia. So I'll go back and forth to actually share with us what brings you here today. Why are you excited about this panel? Kenapa panel ini tuh menarik dan kenapa Bapak dan Ibu menyempatkan waktu? Sudah lama nih tidak terbiasa meeting offline, tapi hari ini menyempatkan untuk keluar rumah dan bersedia meeting offline untuk menghadiri panel ini. Kira-kira kenapa? Mungkin kalau boleh saya mulai dari Pak Onte dulu Pak. Kira-kira kenapa nih Pak?
Thank you. Terima kasih Bu Gita. Thank you. Of course, the issue is very important for us. And Kadin understand we can run from this issue.
Okay.
If we cannot comply with the issue, I think we will eliminate for the competition in the world.
So to actually increase competitiveness of Indonesia. Pak Indra?
Thank you. I'm so excited today to be here because we collaborate on doing something good for the development of our nation. So as this title suggests, the collaborative development of sustainable investment guidance is very much in line with our main job in the ministry. So we seek some ways to improve and better manage our economy. And nothing is better today other than doing it sustainably. So here I'm glad that we have come to our great friends and collaborators, which bring us greater hope to be able to produce some guidance together. We don't have that kind of guidance before. This is the first time, and this is for us is the first of its kind. So we are very much excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you Pak Indra. Jadi sudah ada tadi excited about the collaboration, gotong royongnya yang bikin seru begitu ya. Pak Onte tadi menyatakan meningkatkan daya saingnya, increasing competitiveness of Indonesia. Mbak Atika, kira-kira kenapa Mbak? Why are you excited to be here today?
Thank you, Mbak Gita. First of all, I would like to also thank you for having us. So I think here we're mostly representing the entrepreneurs, early stage, smaller scale of companies. So I think this is a really good opportunities to learn and really do a concrete action when we're talking about sustainability and how the capital can also push this pool of entrepreneurs to also being part of the global movement. So I think this is really, an exciting moment for us as well.
Thank you, Mbak Tika. So concrete actions and encouraging for the maybe smaller scale and starting out the journey of transforming itself to be a sustainable business. Terima kasih Mbak Tika. Jadi tadi sudah ada gotong royongnya, sudah ada senang karena daya saingnya, ada juga senang karena ini pertama kali ya Pak Indra ya, jadi pioneer gitu ya. Dan karena bisa melakukan sesuatu yang konkret bersama-sama, bukan hanya untuk yang skala besar, tapi juga untuk yang mungkin baru memulai. Kira-kira kalau Pak Misran gimana nih Pak? Saya tahu sibuk sekali PHL nih Pak, apalagi di tengah-tengah banyak banyak peraturan sedang digodok gitu ya. Kenapa menyempatkan ke sini Pak? Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you, terima kasih. Jadi saya sangat tertarik hadir pada hari ini karena memang ada kebersamaan dan pembangunan hijau. Jadi yang pertama memang KLHK itu memampu kawasan hutan lebih kurang 65% dari luas daratan. Dan ini dikelola dengan 3 skema. Tentunya yang pertama adalah skema perizinan berusaha, yang kedua juga skema pemberdayaan masyarakat, dan yang ketiga kelola lingkungan. Hal-hal ini adalah sesuatu yang memang hemat kita itu mendukung pembangunan pada tahun 2030, net zero emission pada tahun 2030. Sehingga apapun upaya-upaya kita yang kita lakukan ini adalah harus berkolaborasi dengan semua stakeholder, semua masyarakat. Bagaimana mengelola hutan agar bisa lestari, dan ini harus dikelola bersama masyarakat dan dunia usaha. Kita tahu bersama hutan itu harus berfungsi, konservasi, kesejahteraan, dan juga mendukung pertumbuhan ekonomi. Thank you.
Siap. Terima kasih banyak Pak Misran. So, sudah ada target net zero juga, dan tadi saya highlight yang disampaikan oleh Pak Misran, hutan harus berfungsi, juga harus menyeimbangkan dengan kemampuan meningkatkan ekonomi dan kesejahteraan masyarakat ya Pak. So, the balance between how do we protect and preserve environment while actually maintaining or even growing welfare of community that lives within and surrounding forest area is why we're here today. Jadi saya izin akan membagi dialog ini jadi tiga bagian, begitu 3 putaran. Nanti kalau Bapak Ibu ada pertanyaan bisa langsung masuk menggunakan kanal yang sudah disediakan. Teman-teman yang di Zoom, ladies and gentlemen that's joining from Zoom or from YouTube, feel free to drop in your question through the chat box and we will be able to address it during the discussion session. Untuk yang pertama, mungkin kalau dari sisi target dan peluang Indonesia dan kenapa memiliki satu kesamaan dari sisi definisi apa itu investasi yang sustainable, yang ramah lingkungan dan ramah sosial. Mungkin dari Pak Indra dulu Pak. Kenapa kita perlu punya kesamaan perspektif? Why do we actually need similar definition and similar perspective about what does sustainable investment means? The project that was launched today, for example, already has sustainable development goals as an anchor. Why is now important for Ministry of Investment to also publish guidance that should synergize a lot of the different definition surrounding environment as well as livelihood and social aspect?
Yeah, sustainable development is not only a slogan, but it has to be reflected in our daily conduct. So it has to be our mainstream. It has to be a mainstream of the national development. Many people agree about what is sustainable development means is that you do your development without compromising for future generations. Everybody agrees that. But not everybody know how to do that. Many people, almost all people want to participate, but don't know how to do it. So, and those who knows, those who claim who knows, also have many different interpretation for that. They have their own piece of action or something like that. So it's kind of dynamic situations. Therefore, for those who want to participate in conducting their activities, adhering to the sustainable development practices, the guidance comes as an important tools. So with a guidance, you know the measurement, you know the methodology, you know the issues covered, you know the partners to be involved with, the partners to be collaborated with. Those are the things that a guidance can do for you. So I think in that way that this guidance is becoming very important.
How is it a part of the future scenario of investment policy in Indonesia, you think, Pak? Is it already aligned, or do we need to actually synchronize it after the guidelines is done?
Yeah, I think it's very much in line. I think the OJK, the Financial Services Authority, have already issued their green taxonomy. That's one guidance, and they will always develop it further. Later, Bank Indonesia, the central bank, will issue their own carbon calculator or something like that. We can align to that as well. In other countries, they also have like the most comprehensive in the world so far is the one that produced by the European Union, the so-called taxonomy. It's very comprehensive, of 500 pages something, guidance for you to do your own things in the green economy. Those are the benchmark that we can use to develop our own. So we have to develop our own to make it more adjustable and to adjust it to our own situation here.
Thank you, Pak. Thank you for also highlighting that there are several streams that's already ongoing, including what the OJK is doing, and right now carbon calculator is going to be issued by Bank Indonesia. We also have representative from the stock exchange, Indonesia Stock Exchange, that has been publishing different ESG ready index, right, Bu? They also can collaborate, and I'm happy to hear that it's something that is already in the horizon of the Ministry of Investment, how to bring all of the different streams together and becoming a big strategy for Indonesia in terms of investment. Jadi tadi sudah dijelaskan juga bahwa sudah ada inisiatif dari OJK, ada inisiatif dari Bank Indonesia juga keluarkan kalkulator karbon, kemudian selama ini juga Bursa Efek Indonesia sudah cukup aktif sebetulnya mengeluarkan banyak sekali indeks yang menampung dari sisi pola-pola investasi yang ready ESG-nya seperti itu. Dan ini menjadi satu gambaran sebetulnya jangka panjangnya seperti apa arah kebijakannya. Nah mungkin saya mau lanjut ke Pak Misra nih Pak, kalau tadi dari perspektif regulasi investasinya gitu ya Pak. Kalau dari pengelolaan hutan lestari sendiri, kira-kira ada tidak sih Pak peluang-peluang memang mungkin usaha-usaha yang saat ini sudah ada yang berpotensi untuk diunggulkan juga nih Pak sebagai portfolio investasi yang mungkin bisa menyeimbangkan antara perlindungan hutan dan juga penurunan emisi mungkin Pak.
Terima kasih, thank you. Jadi pengelolaan hutan itu memang kita sudah menata, mengalokasikan lokasi-lokasi yang memang kita alokasikan untuk dunia usaha, perizinan berusaha, dan juga kita sudah mengalokasikan untuk pemberdayaan masyarakat. Kita juga sudah mengalokasikan untuk kawasan perlindungan ekosistem, dan yang juga kita sudah mengalokasikan untuk perlindungan alam. Terkait dengan dunia usaha, kita ada lebih kurang 55 juta hektar ini di hutan produksi ini. Kita alokasikan pertama ini untuk perizinan berusaha. Jadi perizinan berusaha sampai sekarang sudah ada lebih kurang 38 juta hektar. 30 juta hektar itu kalau dulu namanya izin usaha, sekarang berdasarkan Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja menjadi perizinan berusaha. Ya. Perizinan berusaha itu adalah multi usaha. Jadi dalam satu perizinan itu bisa dilakukan berbagai aktivitas seperti pemanfaatan lingkungan, pemanfaatan jasa air, pemanfaatan karbon, kayu, dan juga yang lain-lain. Jadi intinya ke depan untuk perizinan berusaha memang menurut hemat kami sudah mengakomodir dari kepentingan ekonomi. Tapi dari kepentingan lingkungan juga kita memperhatikan betul terkait dengan analisa dampak lingkungan dan sebagainya, kita atur betul dalam rangka untuk pelaksanaannya. Itu kalau dari dunia usaha yang kita alokasikan sebanyak lebih kurang 38 juta hektar. Ada juga kita alokasikan untuk masyarakat lebih kurang 12 juta hektar. 12 juta hektar ini kita alokasikan untuk masyarakat, untuk perhutanan sosial, yang hutan desa, hutan kemasyarakatan, dan untuk menangani konflik. Dan ini kita berharap kegiatan ini dilakukan dengan kearifan lokal. Ya. Jadi kearifan lokal maknanya adalah kegiatan-kegiatan yang sudah membudaya, Sehingga kegiatan masyarakat, kegiatan dunia usaha, harapan kita itu mendukung poluneting, dalam artian mendukung untuk ketahanan perubahan iklim pada tahun 2020 yang kita berkomitmen untuk zero emission. Kita sudah mengalokasikan, sudah membuat rencana untuk poluneting 2030. Jadi KLHK rasanya sudah berpedoman kepada itu pada tahun 2030 kita berkontribusi 60% untuk penurunan emisi dan akan kita lakukan.
Siap, terima kasih Pak. Tadi saya catat juga ternyata memang secara luasan pun 38 juta ya Pak ya. Yang mungkin masih bisa kita lihat sebagai apabila itu diolah menjadi portfolio investasi dari kacamata sustainable investment, mungkin akan menjadi Indonesia menjadi yang paling besar mungkin di dunia ya. Bagaimana bisa mengelola secara baik dan menyeimbangkan tadi praktek-praktek kearifan lokal juga dikelola langsung oleh masyarakat dengan skema seperti perhutanan sosial, tapi juga melihat dari sisi bisnis sebagai sesuatu yang visible juga menjadi model bisnis yang berkelanjutan. Terima kasih banyak. So what was highlighted by Pak Misran is also the fact that Indonesia right now is actually sitting on a very lucrative opportunity to look at us as a big potential player to establish not only businesses that are viable in terms of economy, but also has potential to balance between local tradition, local know-how and local knowledge, community-centered business, but also the protection side of things coming from the emission reduction. Nah, coming from both angle, Pak Onte, because I know you as Kadin, but also as PT Sobi. You are among the first social enterprise that tries to introduce that concept in terms of balancing how to manage forests sustainably and also maintain community ownership and also respect local tradition and local wisdom. Right now, you're also sitting in the Chamber of Commerce representing different sides of industry. How do you think that comes into play in terms of the longer strategy? How do you balance the fact that there's a lot of large businesses with potential large investment portfolio, while at the same time, we need to have room to grow the ones that are starting from the bottom?
Thank you. First of all, I think Kadin tagline now is inclusive and collaboration. So our new chairman of Kadin, Pak Arsyad Rashid, mentioned about inclusivity. So not only Kadin is a big home, not only for big businesses, but also for small, medium, and micro enterprises. Inclusive also means not only for one's industry, like very good industry, but for all industry. So for this, I think very good for us because all the things is can work together. Yeah, inclusive means like this is the first time, by the way, people from social entrepreneur, activist background become of chairman, vice chairman of Kadin, myself. Yeah, so this is the proof of the inclusivity. But I think we come from different background, different expertise. This will reach us. Yeah, the collaboration. For example, for a big company, maybe sometimes we are very difficult to getting people involved. But for social entrepreneur, working with the people this is our expertise.
Bread and butter, yeah?
Yeah, and why not? For these people, managing people, organizing people, tax of the social entrepreneur, and then become a value chain of the big company. I think for this, we can create not only income, but the sustainability, both for the big company, sustainable for resources, responsible resources, and for the people is sustainable livelihood. It's very good for in the future, I think.
This is so interesting. I've never looked at it that way. So the Kadin now is actually potentially it represents the chance to get sustainable supply chain implemented. If the large company that's member to Kadin collaborate with the small, medium scale, and even micro level, they can build a value chain and supply chain that's fully traceable and also sustainable and get a win-win scenario.
Yes.
So,
but don't forget,
Yeah.
Kita,
Gimana?
Even we are community-based businesses, the standard must as a high standard, not because this community-based only people come to buy because kasihan ya.
Ya, bukan karena kasihan ya.
Because of the standard.
So all of which leads to my next question to Mbak Atika. Jadi tadi Pak Onte menjelaskan Kadin sekarang dengan tagline yang baru dari sisi inklusif gitu ya, memperlihatkan kemampuan untuk sebetulnya menyusun rantai pasok dari hulu ke hilir, dari yang paling besar kalau bekerja sama dengan yang medium, yang kecil, bahkan yang mikro, kita bisa menghasilkan rantai pasok yang betul-betul bisa di-trace, bisa dipertanggungjawabkan begitu, dan juga sustainable untuk jangka panjang. So maybe to Mbak Atika, right now Angin, I've been quoting a lot of your study, including the impact investment potential in Indonesia, and right now you just issued another map of potential investors as well. How do you see what was discussed here being reflected in the appetite of the investment itself? Sometimes people think, oh, maybe it's just the company that wants to do green business, but the investors are not sure yet. Is it true, or actually everybody wants to do green business?
Okay, actually that's a great question, because here we can address like two sides, right? Like the supply side, which is the investor side, and also like the demand. Of course, from like Angin is in the middle. We're trying to match-make this demand and supply of the investment. From the demand side, we see the growth of social entrepreneurship, and also like even like some companies who don't claim themselves as a social enterprises, they actually contribute something in this SDG goals, or they might implement the sustainability in the value chain. But sometimes it is not communicated well, so the investors cannot capture what they're trying to do in the impact or in the sustainability side. So what is interesting is that we see the movement in the impact and sustainability investment. So previously, like there are some categories of investors based on their thesis. So investors have their strategy, have their mission, and some of them are very very explicit, that they want to tap into certain impact thesis.
Yeah.
And they call themselves like an impact investor.
Impact investors, okay.
And usually this impact investor, they're very strict on the impact themes, metrics, and so on. But nowadays, what is interesting is that the non-impact investors, so maybe we call it like mainstream investors, those who are, they're actually not really strict in the impact metrics, but they actually support the impact enterprises, or they actually invest in the companies who have the sustainability angle. So we see this overlapping and a more blurry boundaries, but I think it's a good way, right?
So there's no sort of like just impact investment, it's just investment, but some are more concerned on impact compared to others.
Correct. And it's a good thing that we see more capital than coming towards the companies with the sustainable angles, right? But I think then the point is, within like our discussion later, then why the guidelines will be important, because then we want to articulate this sustainability that might be implicitly done by the investor, but at least they know this is what they're actually doing, even though they don't call themselves as an impact investor.
Right, I think it's a good news as well. Karena biasanya mungkin Bapak dan Ibu terbiasa dengan mengkotak-kotakan begitu ya. Mungkin sepertinya, investasi yang berdampak ini pasti yang skalanya lebih kecil ketimbang pola investasi seperti biasa gitu. Tapi yang tadi disampaikan Mbak Atika menyatakan sebetulnya pocket investasinya sih sama-sama investasi. Cuma sekarang matriksnya berbeda, matriksnya. Mana yang memang lebih mempedulikan beberapa aspek tertentu itu mungkin sudah bisa dibedakan begitu ya. Jadi there is good news for everyone that impact investment is here, and it's not something that's niche, it's actually part of a bigger ecosystem change in terms of investment. Saya baru diinformasikan Bapak Ibu ada Slido untuk memberikan pertanyaan, jadi Bapak Ibu bisa masuk saja untuk Bapak Ibu yang di online dan juga di offline sebetulnya nanti akan tampil di screen. Bisa masuk ke slido.com dengan kode event kickoff SIG. Bisa langsung dilihat di layar. Kalau Bapak Ibu menggunakan telepon genggam juga bisa langsung di-scan saja barcode-nya. For those of you that's using mobile phone, you can scan your barcode. Also, the ones that are joining in from YouTube and from Zoom, you can also directly scan or tap in your chat box and click the link that's already there with the event code KICKOFFSIG. So any questions for the panelists is more than welcome. Thank you. Tadi kita sudah mendengar dari perspektif strategi besar, tren besar. Sekarang kita mungkin masuk lebih mendalam ke panduannya ya Pak ya. So saya mau mulai dari Pak Misran sebetulnya Pak. Kan pengelolaan hutan lestari begitu ya Pak. Sebetulnya ada nggak sih Pak indikator-indikator kunci yang harus diperhatikan pada saat kita ingin mengatakan bahwa oh bisnis kita ini berkontribusi terhadap pengelolaan yang sifatnya lestari. Ada definisi atau batasan-batasan yang memang harus diperhatikan kah Pak dari sisi teknisnya gitu, baik dari sisi mungkin biofisik atau aspek yang lain?
Terima kasih. Jadi yang pertama tentang perizinan berusaha. Perizinan berusaha kita dengan BKPM rasanya sudah open ya, open dalam artian sudah terbuka sangat luas, jadi membuka peluang usaha untuk seluas-luasnya. Yeah. Tapi begitu sudah mendapat izin, otomatis itu menjadi KLHK lah bagaimana ini berjalan. Jadi kita menangani itu dari hulu, hilir, dan pasar. Jadi Direktorat Jenderal KLHK, utamanya Direktorat Jenderal PHPR itu menangani dari hulu, hilir, dan pasar. Jadi hulu, yang kami sampaikan, hulu itu adalah di hutan. Kita bisa memastikan bahwasanya potensi hutan itu sudah kita ketahui. Volumenya berapa, jenisnya apa, ini sudah dalam satu sistem yang sudah kita kembangkan. Jadi kalau kita nebang kayu di suatu tempat, itu kita bisa lacak sampai ke industri. Jadi kalau Bapak Ibu melihat di industri, itu bisa diketahui itu kayu dari mana. Dan sistem ini sudah kita kembangkan. Dan yang kedua, kita juga udah link dengan Departemen Keuangan. Jadi sudah dipastikan bahwasanya kayu sumber daya alam yang diambil itu sudah dibayar BNPB-nya. Yang ketiga, kami sampaikan bahwasanya kita memastikan bahwasanya kayu itu adalah legal dengan SPLK. Jadi SPLK ini sudah diakui di Uni Eropa. Jadi di Eropa, di Inggris itu sudah mengakui tentang SPLK. Jadi SPLK adalah sistem kelestarian yang kita kembangkan di Indonesia. Jadi sudah pasti kalau kayu dari Indonesia bersertifikat SPLK di negara-negara tujuan ekspor itu sudah tidak perlu due diligence. Karena sudah kita pastikan bahwasanya itu dikelola dari kegiatan-kegiatan yang lestari. Jadi kita menangani dari hulu, hilir, dan pasar. Untuk ekspor juga kita sudah berkolaborasi dengan perdagangan, dengan bea cukai dan sebagainya. Jadi yang perlu kami sampaikan bahwasanya dalam rangka pengelolaan hutan, kita itu mengelola dengan prinsip-prinsip kelestarian. Dan yang kedua dengan prinsip transparansi. Dan yang paling penting sebetulnya ini SPLK Indonesia itu sudah diakui internasional. Dan ini menjadi contoh negara-negara lain. Untuk mencontoh aktivitas pengelolaan hutan yang ada di Indonesia.
Siap. Terima kasih Pak Misran. Tadi saya catat banyak sekali dari sisi pertama tadi kualitas biofisik ya Pak. Apakah betul-betul sesuai menebang bisa langsung di-trace sampai ke market begitu ya Pak. Dan itu diperkuat dengan tadi harus sudah patuh dari sisi legalitas yang diwujudkan lewat sistem SPLK. Dan tadi Bapak juga sempat menyinggung produknya juga harus bayar pajak nih Pak ya. Maksudnya ketentuan konsekuensi PNBP yang ada dan lain-lain harus dipenuhi. Dan yang terakhir tadi prinsipnya juga harus transparan sepanjang rantai pasok. Terima kasih banyak. Kalau dari sisi praktek-prakteknya anggota Kadin from the members of the Chamber of Commerce, before the Pak Misran mentioned that there are a couple of stages. One is legality, the second one is transparency, and the third one is the fact that it can be traced to the source and managed sustainably at the source. And he highlights also the fact that, like you said, it has to be high quality, so high that other countries also believe in our standard, like SPLK. What about in Kadin membership? Do you have specific, I know that Kadin is also working on your own sort of stream for ESG guidelines. What are the type of indicators or the type of safeguards that is implemented or planned to be implemented by the members?
I think Kadin members will follow all the regulation of our country. Yes.
So legality is number one.
Yes, SPLK is mandatory, so our members try to must follow the SPLK, and also I think Now with multi-usaha, so we try to combine the forest management concession, follow again with the regulation, because by Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja, now we go to multi-usaha.
Okay.
We're thinking about not only timber, but also the others. So this is Kadin. In Kadin, we have, we call it Regenerative Forest Business Hub.
Okay.
This will help, will assist our members if they want to do multi-usaha. So we try to do the best, all the expertise or everything. Yeah, Kadin as an organization, we want to make sure what need from our members we will follow. So follow the regulation is the first priority.
The first priority. Okay, thank you so much. And it's promising to also look at the innovation within existing licenses. Like you mentioned, you are now not only exploring the forestry side, but also other sectors that can be implemented, or not only timber, but also non-timber forest product, for example, or other type of business opportunity from one landscape, right? Mbak Atika, I know that that is something that Angin is also looking at, opportunity to highlight what are the prominent sectors that impact investment are interested in, and how each sector correlate with each other. Can you maybe speak a little bit about what are the promising sector that Indonesia has to offer, and what are the type of indicators that usually investors would want from those sectors?
Okay, but disclaimer first.
Yeah.
The one that we learn is mostly like coming from this smaller scale, like SMEs or more on the startup side. So sometimes it's like a very tech-driven solutions, which is maybe very different from the other type of entrepreneurs. But like this year, I think like in 2020, we captured that food and agribusiness is still one of the top 2 sectors invested by the impact investor. It means that the investor has this intention to create impact, and they invest in this food and agribusiness, right? And the second sector is financial inclusion. But
Financial inclusion.
Financial inclusion. And I think this also shows that when we talk about green investment, sometimes we bound into the green sectors.
Yeah.
But actually, just like the keyword that we just discussed, we talk about value chain.
Yeah.
We talk about traceability. We talk about the responsibility around the community. So it's not only about the so-called green sectors, but it can go beyond. And actually, these themes is what we see like recently. So maybe from the sector side, it's not obviously green. So for example, like food, but it's towards like alternative protein,
right?
The new like plant-based products.
Yeah.
The food innovation, it's part of the emerging themes that we're here discussing with the investors. And the other one is about like sustainable mobility.
Mobility.
Yeah.
Right.
So it can go to different categories, like either from the electric vehicle or from the way people travel, like the apps that can help people reduce their carbon, or even like the carbon calculator. It can be categorized as the sustainable mobility as well. So I think then what we learn is we can go beyond the sector when we talk about the sustainability, but let's learn about what is behind, what is the process, and how this affect the customer behavior.
So that's so interesting in terms of looking at it not only from how the sector appears, but also backtracking it almost on what type of operation does the sector runs, and what type of also services that can be categorized as sustainable business and be eligible for sustainable investment, right? Jadi tadi di-highlight juga Bapak Ibu bahwa sebetulnya kalau kita melihat tren dari investasi berdampak begitu ya, tidak lagi melihat atau mengkotak-kotakan hanya untuk sektor-sektor yang notabene hijau begitu ya, tapi sebetulnya semua sektor jadi punya kesempatan selama kita melihatnya dari bagaimana sebetulnya operasi dari bisnis tersebut berlangsung. Apakah dia betul bertanggung jawab atau tidak. Jadi sekarang semua sektor baik produk maupun jasa, dan apapun yang di tengah-tengah, tadi sudah disebutkan ada mobility, berarti kan vehicle dan lain-lain. itu juga masuk, ada plant-based, dan tadi yang di-highlight adalah food and agribusiness, itu salah satu yang menjadi top interest from the investment side, dan financial inclusion juga gitu ya. Jadi hal-hal seperti microfinancing dan banyak service lainnya. Nah, mendengar ini nih Pak Indra, kira-kira kan sudah dapat banyak inspirasi juga tadi dari pengelolaan hutan lestari, dari Kadin, kemudian dari angin juga. Apa sih sebetulnya yang saat ini sedang ada gitu ya secara tren dan memang harus diperhitungkan? Mendengar ini semua, kira-kira menurut Pak Indra nanti panduannya isinya apa Pak? Kira-kira what would the sustainable investment guidelines contain actually? Because from the private sector side, from the investment community, as well from other ministries, there are already existing best practice.
Ya, terima kasih. Sebenarnya prinsip-prinsip sustainable development itu bukan untuk gagah-gagahan ya.
Oke.
It's what customer demand.
Based on what customer market wants ya.
It's what customer wants now. So it's what's in the market now. So if you do something good for the environment, it's for your own good too, for your own products, for your own market, for your own profit. Coba aja mencemari lingkungan, tapi pasti produk Anda nggak akan laku.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of the way to help you align with what market demand,
Right.
what your maybe it's good for your for the growth of your company, for the betterment of your product development, or something like that. So those are the things that need some yardsticks, some standard, some measures or something like that that you can adopt for the development of your business. So the guidance should contain some all of those like standards, yardsticks, measurement, methodology.
Methodology,
Methodology, which all of that is dynamic. So it's kind of like living documents that you need to adjust.
Yeah.
The things that agreeable, the things that acceptable 3 years ago, 5 years ago might not be acceptable anymore. So we need to adjust. So those are the things that should be included in the guidance.
It's very interesting that Bapak mentioned the document will be a living document that should also be adaptable to changes and also growth of different best practices from different part of the stakeholders.
Take a look at the Uni Eropa example.
Yeah.
They have the most comprehensive taxonomy, green taxonomy, but still they still not agree on the terms like, for example, nuclear.
Okay.
Nuclear energy. The German and the Austrians didn't recognize that as green.
Yeah.
So they still fighting each other to include or to exclude nuclear energy from the green category.
Yeah.
So those show that it's still some dynamic going on when you produce or develop such guidelines.
So I would imagine the type of development process would also include establishing this type of community of practice that can continuously also look at whether the guidelines still applicable or not. Is there any revision that needs to be done? So that's super encouraging as well. Terima kasih banyak Pak Indra, tadi sudah di-highlight juga bahwa panduan ini akan bisa di-treat sebagai satu dokumen yang sifatnya living document dengan konsultasi kepada semua pihak, kemudian juga bisa mempertimbangkan banyak perkembangan. Jangan sampai sudah dikeluarkan malah tidak bisa digunakan karena sudah tidak sesuai lagi dengan apa yang berkembang di industrinya. Tadi contohnya yang Pak Indra sudah sebutkan juga apa yang terjadi di EU misalnya, yang cukup dinamis situasinya. Kita sudah dapat beberapa pertanyaan, sudah banyak sebetulnya. Jadi kita izin untuk masuk langsung nih ya Pak Misran, Pak Indra, Pak Onte dan Ibu Atika langsung ke tanya jawab, ke Q&A. Thank you so much. We have a question from, can we go down one? The Sustainable Textile Association. That's Bapak Basri Kamba dari Rantai Tekstil Lestari. So there's an association for sustainable textile as well. Is there any foreign investor that's interested in investing in the textile sector, which are adapting also sustainable business practice in Indonesia in the next 2 to 3 years? Which part, upstream, midstream, or downstream, and also potentially which country? So maybe I will go to Mbak Atika if fashion and textile is something that impact investment is also looking at. And then later on, maybe Pak Indra can also provide some comment on that.
Yes, if the question is which country, I cannot really identify the name, but actually we see this interest, right? Because I think it's one of the sustainable fashion themes that is also widely discussed. And yes, it's mentioned which is it upstream, midstream, or downstream? I think we can see in the upstream and the downstream part. So we see the downstream side, there's so many new brands of sustainable clothing is also growing in Indonesia, and this is really a good opportunity that some investors are looking at. And what they see is that it's also changed the way people wear fashion wear, because it's not only about it's coming from the nature or a natural dye, but it's also longer life and more sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not only about the product, but also the value of having the product. That's from the downstream side. But for the upstream side, we have this discussion that of course the investors are interested in the way the new way of creating fabric or textile is getting more sustainable, but also how this impact the community around. Because usually this is sustainable textile that they will empower the livelihood of the community, right? So this is really the good case of sustainable investment. So it's not only about the environmental impact, but also how the social livelihood is also improved. And there's some interest in this.
Great to hear. So both upstream and downstream, Pak Basri. Next, maybe we'll go to a question for Pak Misran. Tadi di bawah, boleh geser ke bawah lagi. Wow, pertanyaannya panjang-panjang ya. Ini Pak Misran ada pertanyaan. Pemerintah katanya punya program akselerasi perhutanan sosial, tapi kenapa penyuluhnya masih sedikit Pak? Ini contohnya audiensnya dari Lampung nih Pak. Sedangkan yang harus diurus ada ratusan ribu Pak. Untuk per orang masing-masing penyuluh mungkin bebannya tuh banyak begitu. Kenapa penyuluhnya masih sedikit sekarang untuk perhutanan sosial? Apakah saya mungkin bisa daftar Pak jadi penyuluh mungkin Pak kalau ada kekurangan? Silakan Pak Misran.
Terima kasih, ini pertanyaan dari Lampung. Jadi kami sampaikan memang pemerintah ke depan akan memperhatikan betul tentang perkembangan masyarakat yang ada di utamanya sekitar kawasan hutan. Kita sudah memberikan akses yang sangat luas, perhutanan sosial, yang kedua ada hutan desa, hutan kemasyarakatan. Ini tentu akan kita ikuti dengan pengembangan salah satunya tadi pengembangan SDM. Jadi SDM permodalan jadi hal yang penting. Jadi untuk SDM ya secara bertahap akan kita penuhi karena memang apapun kenyataannya masyarakat itu perlu ada pendampingan. Jadi untuk SDM tentu akan kita jadi perhatian kita untuk kita kembangkan terus. Dan dalam jangka pendek memang kita baru merekrut dalam artian ya petugas-petugas swadaya yang ada di dalam. Tapi ke depan akan kita perhatikan.
Kalau untuk pengembangan bisnis di perhutanan sosial sendiri ada kerjasama dengan mungkin inkubator begitu Pak supaya bisnisnya semakin maju begitu?
Iya. Tentu kita sudah bekerja sama juga dengan mitra-mitra kita dari luar juga untuk mengembangkan inkubator bisnis. Yang kedua juga salah satunya ada di Jogja, yang ada juga di NTT, ada juga di Maluku Utara dan sebagainya. Ini sudah kita kembangkan spot-spot. Tapi intinya pengembangan ini juga akan terus kita kembangkan. Jadi rasanya ini baru memberikan akses, yang kedua akan kita penuhi terkait dengan peningkatan sumber daya manusia, dan yang ketiga juga nanti dengan teman-teman yang lain juga terkait dengan permodalan.
Oke, jadi kemarin sudah akses, sekarang lagi fokus mengembangkan kapasitas, begitu dengan penyuluh, nanti nextnya juga permodalan ya Pak?
Iya, betul.
Oke, terima kasih banyak Pak Misran. So the roadmap for social forestry are still promising. For those of you who are interested to become part of the ecosystem, Pak Misran just mentioned that they are also collaborating with external parties, including incubators, to help social forestry to boost its business model. The roadmap goes, they've earned their rights, sudah ada legalitasnya begitu ya, and then you build the capacity through the through the extension service, and then you build the capital needs as well through financing. Nah mungkin saya ke Bang Onte juga nih untuk hal yang sama. Terima kasih Pak Misran. Bentar yang ke bawah dulu, saya mau baca soalnya yang di bawah kayaknya nih, congratulations for this effort, for this coalition. Thank you. Great to see the collaborative effort. How can SMEs get involved in this initiative? Is it also open for small medium scale enterprises in other countries? Ini pertanyaan kita simpan jadi pertanyaan terakhir ya, supaya semuanya bisa komentar ya. Jadi UMKM bisa ikutan nggak nih ke gerakan ini gitu ya, dan apakah terbuka untuk UMKM di negara-negara lain yang mungkin anggota G20? Mungkin kita naik ke atas? Boleh? Tadi ada, nah ini ada pertanyaan dari Rida, CDP. Earlier, Kadin mentioned that they want to ensure the supply chain traceability of all Kadin members. How is it going to be operationalized? Jadi gimana nih Pak untuk implementasinya?
Okay, thank you. So in forestry, of course, must be traceable, yeah? Because under SVLK, the regulation like that. So I mentioned before about Kadin is inclusive, big home for all businesses, big and even social entrepreneurs. So I think this collaboration is unique and good because, for example, if we talking about rubber, for example, mostly of the rubber is the smallholders. So if social entrepreneur can manage the rubber, smallholders, and then make sure they can achieve the standard. For example, for standard of FSC in rubber, and then all the material can connect with the big company. In Indonesia, for example, we have so many Kadin members in rubber. For example, like Kirana Megantara. So we can connect them, and then Kirana can supply the rubber to big merek-merek besar. For example, like Pirelli or Michelin or something like that. So these things will be connected one to each other, but for the social sectors will be done by a social entrepreneur. So this collaboration is unique, and I think Kadin have a potential to do that, as long as the inclusivity, the collaboration is still there.
Okay, so the heart is actually in the collaboration, so that you understand how it works from different lens, yeah. Okay, thank you Pak Onte. Last question to Pak Indra, and then we are going to take the final question about the UMKM, about the small medium scale enterprises. Pak Indra ada pertanyaan, hilang tapi pertanyaannya ke bawah lagi. Nah, how the Ministry of Investment can accommodate green investment based on international standard? For example, there's a specific example on Green Industrial Park in North Kalimantan. Because it has raised skepticism, for example, from NGOs and academicians. How do you want to address this, and do you think our project can meet international standards when it comes to green investment?
Well, for a big of that size, if you don't meet international standard, that's ridiculous.
It's useless as an portfolio, Pak. Nobody wants to invest.
So it's so transparent. You will become a main target of criticism if you don't transparent. If you don't pay attention to the environmental quality for a project of that size.
And is it, how do Ministry of Investment intends to also work with different stakeholders? I know the coalition is one sign, right? that Ministry of Investment, in terms of developing these guidelines, also collaborate with multi-stakeholders from NGO, from civil society, from development partners, even from the private sector. Is it something that is a common practice in Ministry of Investment to work in such a collaborative manner?
Yeah, of course, we promote that kind of practice, but apart from that, the environmental concern is incorporated in the licensing regime. So if you don't meet the certain requirement for environmental standards, you won't get the license. So it's incorporated already.
Yeah. So both the practice, but as well as the licenses are safeguards that the ministry is also upholding. I will start from Mbak Atika for the last question. Can SMEs join this effort of developing investment guideline collaboratively, and is it open to other countries? Can it be open to SMEs from other countries to also be a part of? I know Angin is also part of the collective, so if you want to speak on that note also, welcome.
Yeah, I would say it is really important for SMEs to take part of this movement, right? Because I think the guidelines later is not only about the retrospective guideline metrics, right? But it's also something forward-looking. How then SMEs with the current scale, then they can grow better with the inclusive capital. I think that's the key point for SMEs.
Inclusive capital. What do you say, Bang Onte?
I agree. Inclusivity, of course, the voices of SMEs is important. And in Kadin, we have a task force for ESG.
ESG,
That's why
yeah.
I asked Gita to collaborate, because the task force also working now, and in collaboration with the World Economic Forum,
yeah.
because the World Economic Forum also have their stakeholder capitalism matrix.
Yeah.
This is similar with the SDGs, I think, with the ESG.
ESG, yeah.
So I think this collaboration is important, and voice of SME is important, of course.
Thank you. Dari Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan, mungkin Pak kalau melihat ini kemungkinannya usaha mikro kecil menengah bisa ikut juga nggak nih Pak untuk bertransformasi menggunakan panduan-panduan kelestarian? Menurut Bapak itu sesuatu yang mungkin atau tidak Pak, pertanyaannya tadi?
Ya kalau ditanya mungkin ya mungkin saja, dan
ya.
harus mungkin.
Harus ya Pak?
Dan kita juga di KLHK juga yang membantu ekonomi kecil,
ya.
Usaha-usaha kecil. Salah satunya terus industri perkayuan yang di bawah 2.000 kelompok masyarakat itu kita bantu semua. Yang pertama membantu dalam rangka identifikasi, sertifikasi, dan semua kita bantu. Ini bantuan dari pemerintah.
Wah mantap Pak. Jadi memang sudah trajektorinya pemerintah untuk selalu mengikut sertakan usaha mikro kecil juga ke dalam skenario pembangunannya ya Pak?
Iya.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Misran. Dari Kementerian Investasi mungkin Pak Indra, in terms of the Ministry of Investment and your plan, maybe a closing note also from you. What is the role of small medium scale enterprises? Maybe some people tend to think about Ministry of Investment only looking at the large scale investment. Is the guidelines going to accommodate the needs for small medium scale enterprises as well?
Yeah, I think nobody will doubt the importance of the small medium scale enterprise active role in our economy. Most of our issued license are from small and medium size.
I see. So majority of the licenses issued are on.
Almost 90% of
90%. Okay.
Yeah. So they are becoming more and more important in times where economic hardship becoming more and more intense. Yeah. And becoming also a safety valve for people to seek to better their livelihood. In relation with these guidelines, I think it is even more relevant for them to to adjust their business. Well, some of them, maybe most of them, have already been doing some good practice of sustainable development. They can be champion as well for other, and they can be some sort of exemplary evidence that we can see, and something that we can learn from them. But for those who haven't done yet, they will benefit a lot from such a guidance. So the guidance, in addition to dynamic, comprehensive, it has also to be simple and easy to understand.
Simple and easy to understand. Jadi panduannya bukan hanya memang melihat apa saja yang sudah sebetulnya digunakan di luar sana, tapi karena tadi mungkin ini nggak banyak yang tahu gitu ya, perizinan yang dikeluarkan itu malah mayoritas memang sekarang di skala mikro, kecil, menengah begitu ya Pak ya. Jadi guidelines-nya juga harus simple, mudah dipahami sehingga semua bisa ikut serta begitu. Terima kasih banyak, thank you so much for all of the panelists. Let's give a big round of applause for the panelists as well. Thank you so much for the questions as well. Boleh ke atas sedikit, kita bacakan saja namanya ya, karena pertanyaannya tidak bisa dijawab. Tapi ada Pak Ari Muhammad dari IKLE, kemudian ada teman-teman juga yang lain sudah masuk beberapa pertanyaan dari YouTube dan Zoom juga. Terima kasih banyak yang sudah ikut serta. So I usually would conclude a session doing a poem. Ini ada Evermos juga bertanya, Impact and Sustainability dari Pak Dio Guntara. Terima kasih banyak. So the word that I chose to conclude the session is chance, because everybody think of this effort as a new chance. So the C stands for collaboration, is the heart of the effort. The H stands for human beings' welfare, can actually be an entry point that everybody agree with. A stands for agribusiness. Food and even fashion is a sector that can be considered interesting for impact investors right now. The N stands for needs of the market, is why we are fighting for sustainability. The C is criticism can be healthy as long as it's conducted productively and collaboratively. The E, the final word, is environmental protection can exist as a viable business model if you look at it from developing an entire value chain for Indonesia. Thank you so much, everyone. So, jadi chance ya, we'll take a chance, kita akan ambil kesempatan. Dan karena itu juga mungkin kita persilahkan Bapak Ibu panelisnya untuk kembali ke tempat duduk masing-masing, karena kita akan menyaksikan satu sesi pecah kuca setelah ini dari teman-teman yang sudah menggunakan panduan GRI. Boleh dikasih tepuk tangan sekali lagi, we can give a round of applause, and we're going to start the next session, which is pecah kuca session from panelists. Well, right now it's just speakers because they will go one at a time, who has been using ESG standard in their daily life and their daily operation, and wants to share with us how to implement ESG in an inclusive and viable manner. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of Pisagro, talking about Sustainability Report Guideline, Mr. Insan Syafaat. The time and floor is yours. Silakan Pak, boleh naik ke sini Pak. Sudah di sini, sudah di Pampang. Iya Kak, jadi ini pecah kuca, jadi langsung aja Pak.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll try to speak in English or in Indonesia. In English, yeah.
Sure. Yes.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. My name is Ino from Peace Agro Partnership for Indonesia Sustainable Agriculture. I think as Kak Gita has mentioned, Peace Agro is one of the associations that has been we have launched what we call guidelines for sustainability report. So last year, working in collaborations with the Global Reporting Initiative, we had a series of discussions, we had a series of meetings involving private companies, governments, NGOs, CSOs, and academics as well, all together to come up with this guideline for sustainability report, specifically for agriculture sector. I think this is just advertisement of what Peace Agro is an association. This is, I think, what, I think, if I may, the relevance why we're actually facilitating our member and agriculture-based companies to come up with this guideline. So back in, I think, 2017, when OJK, the Financial Service Authority, came up with this regulations that mandated all the financial institutions to come up with the comply with sustainable finance. Then the Indonesian Stock Exchange also mandated all companies listed under Indonesian Stock Exchange to start publishing sustainability report by 2021. But since the pandemic, then it was then moved to this year, 2022. With that background, us here at Peace Agro, in collaborations with GRI, then we facilitate this series of meetings. So I think this, as you can see on the screen, is a bit of the background here, and the toolkit that probably the next slide is an alignment between, again, the regulations are from the Financial Service Authority, and it's aligned with the national and international standards as well. I think let's just cut to the next slide. So here is what the sustainability report guideline look like. So essentially what we're developing with GRI is that standard. We're not creating a new standard. We're essentially just making it short specifically for the agriculture sector, which essentially OJK, the Financial Service Authority, has these general guidelines, right? But as we all know, for the agriculture sector, there are specific components that might need to be put there. For instance, as you can see on the daftar isi, on the contents there, I'd like to take the environmental, for instance. There should be GHG emissions. There should be water, wastewater, water, and whatnot. So these are the components that are very key for each of the agriculture-based company to showcase what they're doing within the internal and involving the supply chain, which has been mentioned many times during the first panel. And I think it is also good for, of course, for the investors, because essentially the sustainability report can be used to attract investors, right? That would be beneficial for the companies. I think that will be.
Thank you
all.
so
Thank
much.
You, Kagita.
Let's give a round of applause
Thank
for
you, everyone.
Pak Ihsan
Assalamualaikum
Syamaah.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the best practice of using sustainability reporting, using ESG also index in agriculture sector. Now we're going to also call upon the collaborator of Peace Agro, Global Reporting Initiative, Country Program Manager for Indonesia, Bapak Henry Julius, to the stage and to deliver his best practice as well. Let's give a round of applause for Pak Henry.
Good afternoon, esteemed participants. I'm Henry Julius Vijaya from Global Reporting Initiative, who has been collaborating with Peace Agro and also CDP in developing reporting toolkit on sustainability. Actually, when we talk about sustainable investment and sustainable business practices, actually we are talking about impacts. the questions related about impacts is always about how our business operations can contribute positive impacts to environment, social, governance, and economic aspects. Nevertheless, the questions remains is how we can have an aligned metrics and also indicators that we can use to measure this performance and contributions. This is where the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI, comes into the picture. GRI is an independent international organization set up in 1997, and we are continuously developing the most widely used sustainability reporting standards, or what we call the GRI standards. By using the GRI standards, companies can identify their most relevant and significant impacts on environment, social, and economics and governance impact, and then use the internationally acknowledged metrics, so that when a company measures their impacts and report those impacts in the sustainability reports, then your sustainability reports are aligned with the international standards. So this is why GRI has been working with PISAGRO and also CDP and other organizations to create a reporting toolkit that aligns not only international standards, but also align the international standards with the national regulations on sustainability reporting issued by the Financial Service Authority in 2017. Of course, when I heard the panel before, I am really excited to see how more and more companies and also government institutions are adopting the perspective of sustainability in their roadmap for sustainable development goals. And I wish that the guidelines, the roadmap, and also what will come after that will be aligned with the international standards. So then what we produce can be accountable to the international society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Henry Julius, and I'm excited too to collaborate more with GRI, hopefully for the investment guidelines. Thank you so much, Pak Henry. Now we'd like to call upon Ibu Nur Maliki Arifiandi, or Ibu Oki, the Policy Engagement Manager of CDP, to look at how sustainability reporting have also been used quite consistently in various different sectors, including sustainable land use. The time and floor is yours. Let's give a round of applause for Ibu Oki.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mbak Gita.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity for me. Please, my name is Oki. I'm the Policy Engagement Manager in CDP. The excitement that to develop the collaborative Indonesia Sustainable Investments Guidance is, I would like at this opportunity to walk through with you with it, what is CDP and how we work. So actually, CDP is a global non-profit organization that we are working together with investors, with buyers, with governments, cities, states, and regions, with the aim to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, forests, to protect forests, and also to safeguard water. So, if you can see from this tag, actually it starts from the request from investors companies. They would like to understand on their supply chains, on their companies, on their suppliers, about their environment impact. So they are actually requests through the CDP platforms through the CDP questionnaires on the impact, actions, investments, and social strategies. So actually, CDP platform that we are focusing on environment disclosures, we are trying to understand, to translate what the investors' informations that are they required. The kind of environment issues that we are covering are climate change, forests, and also water. By the companies, suppliers, cities, states, and regions disclosing to CDP, the data we provided back to the investor and companies that already requested to the CDP, and also to the public. So that the investors, the companies, the buyers can make informed decisions, rewards companies, and with the superior performance and also drive actions. If you can go to the next slide, please. This year, in just launched last month, CDP collaborate with GRI. We are trying to develop environment toolkit that to help the alignment between national regulations in Indonesia as well as international framework. That you can see here, we are trying to align the mapping from the OJK number 51, 2017. We also try to combine it with the proper that published, issued by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, as well as how we can align it with the national action plans on SDG. And the last but not least, the latest one is Indonesia Green Taxonomy that published by OJK. At the same time, the international standard as well, we are aligning it with the CDP questionnaires 2022, because as already mentioned here, that kind of guidelines, indicators, standards that need to be as a live document that need to be updated annually. The second one is with GRI Standard 2021, the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, or TCFD, where IDX is already become the TCFD supporters and G7 countries already endorse it. Sustainable development goals as a broader indicator at the global level. And the last one is science-based target initiative. Thank you, Mbak Gita.
Thank you so much, Mbak Oki. It's exciting that a lot of the alignment has been happening, including with the national regulation from both KLHK and OJK, as well as Ministry of Finance. So the road is halfway there. To speak from the small medium scale enterprises perspective, I'd like to welcome Bapak Muhammad Shirazi, the Chief Executive Officer from Swadaya, Indonesia. The time and floor is yours. Let's give another big round of applause for Bapak Shirazi. Silahkan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me today. So today I'd like to talk to you about how sustainability report and securities crowdfunding is basically have a huge impact on impact investment, specifically here in Indonesia. So basically, I want to start with three main challenges today that face our generation. The first one is how the capital, the money keeps flowing to the high emission businesses. So despite all of the Paris Agreement in 2015, the banks, the big banks, are still spending $3.8 trillion to the fossil fuel industry. That have to be changed. And the second one is how the change maker, the solution maker, are having the hard time to find a lucrative investment options in Indonesia. And the second one, and the third one, there's the opportunity of a lot of the so-called impact investors, impact funds, ESG investments, that having a hard time to build a big and investable pipeline in Indonesia. Next page, please. But yeah, as we know, we went to Sragen, we went to Jogja, we went to Bekasi. There are so many already social enterprises that have the social enterprise is there. We can see that there's a aquaculture in Jogja, there's a organic rice in Sragen, and also we have waste to material startup that build furniture from plastics. But they lack of one tickets. The tickets is basically a paper of sustainability report. So that's what we built. We built in collaboration with Bumi Global Carbon, we built Cerah. So Cerah basically a sustainability report as a self-read platform that can basically making a sustainability report a fast, accurate, and system that can be trusted and can be used by SMEs. As we know that now the process of having the sustainability report is take months, but with Cerah it can be a clicks away and can be automatically generated. So basically the first session will be interviewed and then document requests, and then we define the topics in terms of the industries, and then the data input using our dashboard, and then will be generated to the PDF report, and then review, quality control, and if needed, it can be audited with third-party assurance. Next, please. Yeah, this is how the report goes. We have the ESG dashboard in accordance to OJK, GRI, and also all SDGs. And also the PDF auto-generated sustainability report. This is with all the automated tables and narrative that generated and helps the SMEs to have a certain level of sustainability report that can be comply with national and international standards. And next, after the tickets, the sustainability ticket, sustainability report, we call it the tickets to enter the market of financing. We also set up a crowdfunding platform, Swadaya. We're still in the registration process in OJK. But basically, we are connecting impact investors to the social enterprise using the platform also called Swadaya. It can be to securities with equity, but also in by debt or bonds. Next, please. So yeah, this is the closing statement. That's basically what is the advantage of having sustainability report. The first one is basically to attract investors and customers and increase the production and sales. And the second one is to provide added value and increase brand trust and reputation globally. And the third one is for the governments. So basically, if we can assist government initiative related to reducing national emissions through the measurement of greenhouse gases on the company level or SMEs level. And then what's the benefit of having a crowdfunding on impact investment? The first one is to accelerate the transition to the sustainable economy by channeling retail investors like us here in this ballroom and big institutional investors to the impacts area. And the second one is to provide access to funding to social enterprise. And the third one to empower the investor, the local the impact investors to control their portfolio. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bapak Shira. So, Bapak Deputy, if you can already see from all of the best practices, we already have the content that is generic from the Global Reporting Initiative. We have examples from sectors, both agriculture as well as sustainable land use. And we also have best practices that are already accessible for social medium scale enterprises. That is half of the journey in developing the sustainable investment guidance by Ministry of Investment. Now, we'd like to actually inform all of the audience, both online and offline, what are the next steps and how the Ekonomi Membumi Collective intends to actually work together towards an end goal that was mentioned by Pak Shiras beforehand, attracting real concrete investment for large-scale and small-medium-scale enterprises. The time and floor is yours for the representative from Ekonomi Membumi Collective, Ibu Licia Ezra representing Apindo, Ibu Ines Stephanie representing Supernova Ecosystem, and Pak Fitrian Ardiansyah representing Yayasan Inisiatif Dagang Hijau. Boleh ditepuk tanganin kok, kita udah lama nggak offline soalnya, jadi tepuk tangan aja yang keras, nggak apa-apa.
Cool. Good afternoon, everybody, distinguished guests and also online guests. My name is Lisha. I represent Apindo, which is one of Indonesia's largest and oldest trade associations. I'm here with my colleagues. So there's Mas Fitrian from IDH. So he represents the Nexus. I suppose you work with a lot of businesses, finance communities, sellers, and value chains. And then also there's Ines, who represents the business community and investment communities. So coming up after today's kickoff, which we've heard many activities, we've heard many best practices, but throughout this year we have a slate of events between now and November leading up to the G20 area of activists, CSOs, environmentalists, or even gender activists. But with ESG, what we understand, there's always the environmental element, there's the social element, and there's the governance element. And for this, we will be openly declaring we work as a team. So there are 17 organizations that have already worked together in this coalition. And it's represented by different organizations from the private sector, government, both local and national, trade associations, and so forth. And throughout this year, what we will do is also prepare the ESG readiness parameters, which we've heard quite a lot earlier today. Mas Fitrian will talk about that a little bit later. And we also have a range of business activities. At the end of the day, what we are trying to do is match the mandate from the investors and businesses with the interest of environmental, social, and governance elements to it. Companies who have ESG parameters, tend to perform better than others. And as you've heard from Atika from Angin earlier today, that there are also a lot of interest from the investment side of things. So what we're trying to put together is a coalition, a collaborative effort where different partners can work together, will work together, and showing to the world that Indonesia is a hub where historically we've led many commitments, and with this year's B20 and G20 theme, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, we will do the same with the organization. So there will be a series of focus group discussions. If you're interested in joining this coalition, do let us know. We'll share with you how to do that. Some launching events, series of focus group discussions to formulate what this coalition will do for the next 5 years. And then also some platforms to help us work with each other, not just in Indonesia, but also internationally. I understand that we have international partners joining today physically and also online. So with that, I'll pass it to my colleague, Mas Fitrian, to talk about the ESG guidelines. Mas?
Thank you, Mbak Licia. I would say this is so much exciting time, Gita, Mbak Licia, and also Ines and Pak Deputy. Plenty of, and also, increasing appetite coming from the investors, from outside Indonesia, not necessarily because Indonesia is the host of G20, but also because Indonesia has so much to offer when it comes to green investment, green supply chains, and the like. Nevertheless, they cannot come to Indonesia if we are not ready, if we are not ready to facilitate such green investment. And one of the key aspects to facilitate such investment is, of course, we have to be able to show that we are doing it. And one of the key, let's say, avenue or vehicles that we can show that we are doing the green investment, complying to such criteria is if we have this kind of a sustainable investment guidance. So with the coalitions, working together with, of course, the government of Indonesia and different type of parties, we are trying to hopefully issue or launch this kind of first iterations of sustainable investment guidance. But of course, we can't just issue or pop up this kind of guidance. We need to have good discussions, so there will be kick-off events. So please come in, please join. I think we need your good brains. We need your good suggestions. What sort of criteria, components that need to be there. As simple but as straightforward as possible as well, and practical as well. and of course series of FGD, the focus group discussions, to show and to have that kind of linkage to practical sustainable investment on the ground. And of course, we need to translate it into a very good document. So writing it, consulting it, doing some sort of peer reviews and the like. And of course, hopefully, within the period of G20, we can launch this sustainable investment guidance. So please, again, join and work together with us and support the government of Indonesia as well. And with that, I would love to hand over to my lovely friend Ines, please.
Thank you, Mas Fitrian. I think what I represent with this last but not least work stream is actually one of the most exciting part when you get the declaration that really just sealed off the multi-stakeholder partnership, and then you get sort of the vehicle or the framework that has been, agreed upon the government, the private sector, is actually how to iterate it live, right? And the G20, and I'm thankful for G20 and BKPM Deputy to actually provide that opportunity right in front of our eyes, leading to the G20. So I think the first part is actually the FGD. Mas Fitrian already mentioned that investors is actually an important part, but we also mustn't forget the other enablers that's not part of the investors. It can be partners, off-takers. We almost forget that logistics is also playing part, the energy, renewable energy taking part. So again, with Mas Fitrian and Balicia, I urge you to come and take part in the series of FGD, and also leading to the peak event in the G20 in October. We would like to iterate once more in a bigger scale, which is in a form of business forum and business matchmaking. And I think, just to give you a sense of the timeline, probably the next slide would be give you a bit more of a idea.
Yes, exactly. So we have a slate of events coming up. There are more, so we're only highlighting some of the activities happening. So between now, so I'll take March, April, and May, we have a series of activities where we gather your inputs as well and your involvement if you're interested. There was a question earlier, how can SMEs be part of it? Do come and join us. And we're also talking to business partners outside of Indonesia who are also SMEs, so the trade can happen both ways. In April and May, what we're trying to do is some kind of launch and declaration on who's part of this, who's shaping it, and also a series of activities leading up to writing things up and also preparing for the business matching exercise. We are targeting at about 100 SMEs that can be part, which are Indonesian, but also with a number of international investors and business partners. So a lot of the trade associations will be part of this. June and July?
Well, just to add a little bit, I think through the series of discussions or events that we are trying to facilitate, we would like to have this kind of suggestions, advice coming, of course, from the investors, from the producers, from any supply chain actors, including SMEs, of course. They're so important to be part of kind of discussions, because we want to be able to show that this kind of investment guidance would be relatively generic and applicable to all. So, Ines, please.
Yes, on the last slide on the event timeline, I promise this is the last slide on the timeline, is actually the execution month. So we do realize the sustainability report can, while we want it to be generally applicable, as in like we know what is actually sustainable are, we know there's various nuances, the cross-section between the sizes of the firms, the industry, the role within the supply chain in itself, and how it actually can contribute to SDGs is vastly different. So we hope to again reiterate during this month, during August, September, October, even November. So what we see now is actually our answer to BKPM challenge, to Pak Indra's challenge, to actually use the G20 as a springboard, not just everything to be happening on October, but post G20 as well. So if you would like to join us in iterating this this is actually your platform to get to know and getting your voice heard, because like Mas Fitrian and Mbak Licia, we're also a private sector, on the private sector side, and we want this to be as relevant as possible, because we know Indonesian is just not one size fits all.
Amazing. So we have business matching, we have focus group consultations, we have write-ups, and we need your help in making this a reality. So how to get in touch with us? I think that's the most important part. First of all, I think if you're trying to Google all of our names, which are in the poster, you can do that. But also there are things that you can do. So indicate your response in your Slido link today. You can also slide into our chat box. There's a chat box on Zoom and also on YouTube. There are also our colleagues, so there's Kestri in this room, and there's also Mbak Gita, that you can reach out, come talk to us, and grab us after the session. Also online, do talk to us, come and work with us with this. And it's not that we're trying something new, because we're in the private sector, we're in the intersection of different things. We have seen SMEs venture into ESG. We have seen companies working with environmental, social, and governance efforts. So we're only here to help coordinate, but the work is all ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the collective. Terima kasih banyak Mas Fitrian, Mbak Ines, dan juga Mbak Licia. Seperti instruksinya, ada satu yang tadi permintaannya sebelum kita tutup acaranya, before the closing, we would like to bring your attention to another Slido exercise. Basically asking the question that Mbak Ines and Mbak Licia, as well as Mas Fitrian, asked before. Are you interested to actually be part of the process? You can use a barcode scan. You can also just put it on the chat box and just answer yes, no, or unsure. So are you interested to be involved in the process leading up to the G20? Okay, we have our first yes. Go ahead, around 30 seconds, and meanwhile, I'll just repeat quickly. If you are interested to come and support the Ministry of Investments, Mesco Indonesia, Kadin, and the collective, you can go and find Mbak Kestri. You can wave your hand, Mbak Kestri, on the back and indicate your interest, as well as just grab one of us, the Ekonomi Membumi Collective. So we have 92% yes, Pak Indra and Pak Riyatno. 8% ragu-ragu or still unsure. We have to change that. And now 100%, wait. So 94%. Maybe we'll wait until around 10 more seconds. So are you interested to be involved in the process? Both offline and online audience can also join in. Thank you so much. I'd like to report the peak audience today reached 248. So yay. Okay, we got 95% of yes, so a lot of people are interested. Do we have another question after this? No? That's it? Yes? Done? No? Okay, that's it. Thank you so much Bapak dan Ibu, kepada Bapak Riyatno, kepada Bapak Indra, terima kasih banyak dan selamat sudah launching kick-off event hari ini. Congratulations for Ministry of Investment. And also, thank you so much for those of you who are joining online as well as offline. Before we formally close the session, we would like to actually invite representative from the collective and all of the speakers to join Bapak Riyatno on stage to document and officially close this event. So the time and floor is yours, Bapak Riyatno, and can we have all of the collective representative and all of the speakers to come and join on the center stage to take a picture? So Mbak Atika from Angin, representative from Apindo is Mbak Lesia, ASICS as well, CDP Mbak Oki, CSP, Ekonusa, Yayasan Inisiatif Dagang Hijau, Inkuri, we have Mas Frandi, Instellar, LTKL, PIS Agro, Platform Usaha Sosial or PLUS, Pratistara Bumi Foundation, Supernova, Swadaya, and Tanah Air Lestari. Silahkan. Okay, with that, it's officially a wrap. Thank you so much for attending and see you again in the next series of Collaborative Development Indonesia Sustainable Investment Guideline. My name is Gita Syarani. Very sorry if there's any mistake and see you again next time. Until then, stay healthy and take a chance.